Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're having a lovely day. So today I wanted to explain something that has pissed a lot of people off. It's when I use a certain term and I use it to describe companies that I believe do not understand the concept of consent. I've said that many modern companies just fundamentally seem to not understand that you need to get consent from your users before doing something. Whether we are talking about the fact that every major cellular carrier in the United States was selling your location data in contradiction to their own privacy policies, whether we are talking about Roku deciding that now you need to agree to forced arbitration or you will no longer be able to use your television. You may note that there is no disagree button here. You must hit agree to be able to use the television that you already bought and paid for under the terms and conditions that you accepted at the time of buying the television. Even if you do not consent to the new terms, sucks to suck, you can't use your TV. Whether we're talking about Chase Bank proudly announcing that they are going to let advertisers target customers based on spending habits, and again, with no really asking me before they do this. If you take a look at Discord now, note that there used to be a disagree and an agree button. Now you only get an agree button because people with a rapist mentality do not expect to get an answer other than yes. They do provide you a means to opt out, which as you can see here, clearly does not work because I opted out 4 days ago and I still get this bullshit. And one of my personally favorite examples is this one where Facebook did psychological experiments on people 10 years ago without their consent. What they did is they rearranged people's feeds so that in some people's feeds, the saddest content would show up first, and they wanted to see if this affected their moods. And it actually did. Facebook did psychological experiments on vulnerable people and fucked with them without asking for their consent. This is something that I find to be particularly disgusting, and when they do this, I claim that they have a rapist mentality. I accuse them of having a rapist mentality because rather than asking for consent, they simply take what they want. They do not give you an option to disagree, and they make it obvious. Again, you used to have disagree, agree. Yes or no. Now, like, yes. Yes. That is all that you're allowed to say to the rapist, and that is all you're allowed to say to the modern tech company. Now, there are 2 reasons that I use this terminology. The first is because I believe that we have taken so many steps back that we need to come up with some way to get people to recognize what is going on to take a step forward. Even with right to repair, all these bills got passed, but less parts are available now than what was available 4, 5, or 10 years ago. When it comes to the way these companies behave, you have companies that have literally sold your location history to random fucks, and they get fined 0.22% of their net revenue because the United States government and regulatory authorities are a fucking joke. And the second reason cuts a little more deep. Saul Alinsky in Rules for Radicals said that you should accuse your opposition of what it is you're doing yourself. And this cuts deep. I fundamentally believe that you should be able to take back words that have been used against you to slander you and really like kind of take away their power by applying them to the people that it actually deserves to be applied to, which is the person who slandered you. And I can think of no better example than when the entire auto industry implied that independent mechanics were rapists. You see, I started using this terminology around fall of 2023. However, everybody else had been using this terminology to slander my entire industry for over 4 years. And I'd like to show you this example because I've mentioned it in live streams before, but I've never really done a dedicated video on why it is I use this term to take away its power, but more importantly, apply it to the people who it actually should be applied to. Now, what am I talking about here? In Massachusetts in the year 2020, there was a right to repair bill that was proposed. There was a right to repair bill in 2012 that allowed independents access to everything that's necessary to fix and diagnose your vehicle. However, this had an exemption for wireless. Many cars nowadays are doing a lot of this stuff over wireless, which would mean that if they were to do that, they would be able to lock independent mechanics out of what was necessary to be able to work on your vehicle. So this bill was proposed to close that loophole. And if you take a look, you'll see over here that in the opposition to this right to repair bill that would allow independent mechanics to fix your car, you have 5 major companies: General Motors, Toyota, Ford, Honda, and Nissan. These companies combined contributed approximately $26 million to a committee called the Coalition for Safe and Secure Data that created a lot of advertisements and commercials at the time to try and convince voters in the state of Massachusetts and drivers and car owners that they should be afraid of this bill. Do not vote for this bill is bad. And I want to play you the commercial because this commercial has been completely scrubbed from the airwaves and the internet. I cannot find archives of it anywhere except for this one example on my channel. Take note of the way that the auto industry is describing independent mechanics and anybody that wants to be able to fix your vehicle 4 years ago during an election season.
If question 1 passes in Massachusetts, anyone could access the most personal data stored in your vehicle. Domestic violence advocates say a sexual predator could use the data to stalk their victims, pinpoint exactly where you are, whether you are alone, even take control of your vehicle. Vote no on 1. Keep your data safe.
So some of the largest automakers in the United States spent $26 million to create commercials that implied that Rich Rebuilds did not become a mechanic because he wants to fix people's cars. Rich Rebuilds became a mechanic because he wants to stalk you through a parking lot as scary music is playing with cold lighting and scary string music playing in the background so that he could do this and then take you into his trunk and kidnap you. There was also another commercial released during that time, and I really hope that my audience is able to find it on the internet, where they do the same thing, where the evil mechanic is walking up to your garage and hacking it because this bill passed and opening it, breaking into your house with the implication that he is then going to sexually assault you. The major automakers in the United States decided that they were going to do their best to convince millions and millions of people that independent mechanics are enabling sexual assault or enabling stalking. Again, if this passes, which by the way, this passed 4 years ago, not a single instance of sexual assault related to right to repair. They did not provide evidence. They did not provide citations. They did not prove their case at all. They literally just called us rapists. And the worst part of this is that they actually weaponized the experience of people who had been sexually assaulted. By providing those citations, they are actually trying to make the case that sexual assault victims and organizations that advocate for sexual assault victims are against independent mechanics being able to service your vehicle. That is fucking disgusting. That is morally bankrupt in every way, shape, or form. And those 5 companies and the committee that came up with these bullshit ads never had to pay a reputational cost, a societal cost, or a financial cost for their slander of every independent mechanic in this fucking industry. Now let's take a look at who actually act like rapists. If we take a look over here, this is a video I did a while back, and this is also a New York Times article supporting my thesis. Automakers are sharing consumers' driving behavior with insurance company. LexisNexis, which generates consumer risk profiles for the insurers, knew about every trip General Motors drivers had taken in their cars, including when they sped, braked too hard, or accelerated rapidly. So if you have any sort of, I don't know, if you have like Geico, you can do this thing where you get a beacon in your car, or you can use an application on your phone. I don't particularly like Geico, but I understand how the app works. And what the app does is it tries to measure what you're doing in your car. If you turn really fast, it is going to lower your score and increase the price of your insurance. If you accelerate insanely fast, it's going to increase the price of your insurance. If you stop very hard, it's going to increase the price of your insurance by lowering your score. However, as much as this may sound annoying to you, the Geico app demands that you consent to this happening. You have to opt into this program in order to use it. What General Motors was doing is they were volunteering this information to a data broker that was then giving this information to insurance companies who would then be able to hike your premiums based on this data that you never consented to. You see, General Motors accused us. They accused the independent repair industry of being responsible for you being stalked in a parking lot. And the thing that, again, the Saul Alinsky Rules for Radicals part here is that they were the ones that are actually stalking you. I am not storing your location data after I fix your phone or your MacBook. Rich Rebuilds is not storing your location data so that he knows everywhere you've been every second of the day. Mechanics do not care about that. They want to open the hood, get in there, get out, and get the $200 or $400 or $1,000 for fixing your car when the dealer wants $2,000, $8,000, or $16,000. That's what mechanics want to do. But apparently that's not what they want to do. Independent mechanics want to stalk you through a parking lot or hack your garage door so they can break into your house. That bill passed 4 years ago. There is not a single fucking instance of anybody having their house broken into, stalked, or being sexually assaulted because of right to repair in Massachusetts. These people that are accusing the independent repair industry of enabling criminal behavior like stalking are the people that are stalking you. They are accusing us of what they are doing themselves. And I will use every opportunity humanly possible to take that slander that they applied towards us and throw it right back at them. The independent repair industry are not the people that install TikTok on customer phones like Charlie Brown, who represents CTA, who represents Samsung, claimed in a public hearing. He does that. Samsung pre-installed TikTok on your phone. AT&T has lobbied against right to repair. Kim Roback lobbied against right to repair on behalf of AT&T, and they also gave the senator that wasn't really a fan of the bill about $3,000. The problem here is that when you hear people lobby against right to repair, not in this hearing, but in many others, and they are talking about how your data may be compromised as a result of using an independent, what they're not telling you is that the very companies that are making these claims are companies that are actually selling your location data to every single Tom, Dick, and Harry in the United States. Every one of these companies routinely accuses us of what they themselves are doing. None of the people that have criticized me for using the term rapist mentality to describe these companies over the past 4 years have I ever heard once complain when General Motors, Toyota, Honda, Nissan, and Ford decided to weaponize the pain of sexual assault victims to try and take away your ability to have your car taken to an independent mechanic. Do I feel bad when I use these terms? Hell no, because unlike them, I am using them in an honest fashion against people who have slandered us. I did not start this. I used this term in fall and winter of 2023. They were using this shit as far back as 2019 and 2020. And unlike us, when we screw something up, when we get something wrong, when I go over a case and I'm not correct about the details, I have never heard any of these manufacturers say I'm sorry. And whether it is in my personal life, whether it is in my dating life, whether it is in my business life, the one thing that I have zero tolerance for whatsoever is dealing with individuals, companies, or organizations that never have the ability to say, I'm sorry. We are very far behind when it comes to having any sort of sovereignty over what we own. For all of the awareness that has been created, we did not have televisions that disabled themselves unless you agreed to a new terms of service that took away your right to a class action lawsuit right after the company had a data breach. We weren't dealing with this type of nonsense even 4 or 6 years ago. We weren't dealing with all the right to repair bills that have passed. For everything that's been done there, more parts were available 6 years ago than now. We are moving backwards. We need people to recognize what is occurring so that they can become involved, become engaged, and try and push back against this in their own personal lives. And sometimes I use rhetoric that's a little bit charged to try and get that to happen. Do I feel bad about that? No. And do I feel bad implying that companies like General Motors have a rapist mentality when they are actually stalking you and then selling that data that they used from stalking you without your consent after they have implied that I'm a rapist? No, I do not. Zero guilt whatsoever. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now. And remember, every one of you, in your life, in your business dealings, in your personal dealings, value consent more than Roku. Value consent more than Chevy. Value consent more than Facebook. Have higher standards for yourself than multi-trillion-dollar companies. It's the least you can ask of yourself. It's the least I can ask of myself. It's the least I can ask of BlackBerry. This is my kitty. I love my kitty so much. She's so cute. And she really does love me. Look at this. This is like unconditional love right here. She's always here for me no matter what goes on. She's my kitty. I love my kitty. You know one thing that makes sponsor block evil? There are a couple of my videos where it literally skips past Mr. Clinton. Like, BlackBerry's very quiet as a cat. She doesn't say much. But Mr. Clinton is very, very vocal. He yells a lot. And there's a couple of videos where I would talk to Mr. Clinton because I wanted him to, just kind of feel like he was paid attention to. And like, I'm never really against sponsor block in the past, but what really made me anti-sponsor block is when I noticed that they were censoring Mr. Clinton's freedom of speech. Like, why is he not allowed to talk in my videos? And why would you skip over Mr. Clinton? He's just an adorable little cat. I mean, that's just evil. He wasn't even asking you to buy something. He wasn't in the pocket of big tech. He wasn't trying to sell you fucking Raycons. He wasn't trying to sell you Audible. He wasn't trying to get you to go to crappy therapists at BetterHelp or try and scam you into these gambling games. All he wanted to do was meow. All he wanted to do was meow. And you people at Sponsor Block took that away from Mr. Clinton. Shame on you. Shame. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.